Welcome. While you're taking your seats, we're going to play our 8 Principles video.
The Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola, the 8 Principles.
Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relation.
Number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation.
Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregation and in society at large.
Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
Number 7, respect for the interdependent web of existence,
of which we are all a part.
Number 8, active commitment to dismantle racism and other oppression in ourselves and our institutions.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. I'm Mary Beth. I'll be your service leader today. My pronouns are she and her. We're so excited to have y'all here. We know it's been a long week, and so I think I'd like to start with, if you just want to turn to your neighbor and whatever's comfortable for them, obviously get consent first, but maybe give a hug, a handshake, a fist bump, a head nod. I don't know, but let's embrace and love each other. Okay, it feels good, right? To know that we're here, we're among friends and family and loved ones. Even if you're a stranger, you're loved, you're welcomed here, and you belong here. So thank you for coming. Hopefully you received a pamphlet. If you are new, they're just out on the credenza, but if not, we can get you one on the way out, or you can check out our website. It has everything that you need to know about our church. We are a lay-led congregation, so we have different speakers every week. This week we're lucky enough to have the same speaker twice in a row, but I'll get to that later. For now, I have some announcements. If you didn't notice the massive table of sweets, well then, it's there. Oh, thank you. So, speaking of, we know y'all need some cheering up, and we have just the thing. Our Sunday Sweets cake lineup today will make your taste buds sing. Thank you. So that's just outside in the lobby. If you're new, you get a free piece. A what? So, get that. And if not, hopefully you brought cash. And if you didn't, we take check. I've got Venmo. I promise I'm good for it, and I'll give it to whoever it needs to go to. So that's just outside after service today. Also, we were supposed to have the out-of-box session after service today, but we're moving it to next week, the 17th, I believe. So the out-of-box session is going to be next week. And if you have questions on that and you don't know what it's about, it's a wonderful thing that we've started with Zachary Helton. She's going to be up here singing later, so just stop her after church if you have some questions. Our annual Thanksgiving potluck is coming up just around the corner. It's going to be Sunday the 24th, so that's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, which is later this year. Some people didn't know that. So it's the 24th, and it's great. We have all the foods. We need you to bring a side, if you will, but the ham, the turkey, drinks, and desserts will be provided. So just show up with a side. Deviled eggs are always appreciated. We never have enough of those. I'm just saying. I mean, it's, Anywho, so if you have any questions, see me afterwards and I can help you out. But again, that's Sunday, the 24th after service. And then not to bombard you with fun and fellowship things, but we have another one that that's coming up, and it's our holiday gift exchange. So I feel like it's a bit earlier, but maybe it's just because Thanksgiving is later. But it's going to be Sunday, December 15th. So that's when we do our gift exchange, or some may call it White Santa, White Elephant, or Dirty Santa. I feel weird saying dirty at the podium, but it's fine. We're fine. We're okay. So that's December 15th. So afterwards, after church, we're going to have a salad bar, a pizza buffet. I'm sure there will be something sweet there because, hello. And then after that, we're going to come in here and do the holiday gift exchange. So what you need to bring is an appetite, put your bells on, and then also bring a gift-wrapped something or other. Pretty, kind of appropriate, but the kids will have their own thing. So if you want it to be an adult gift, you can do that, and the kids will be with honor doing their thing. So yeah, just make sure it's wrapped, and I think that's it. See me if you have any questions. Okay. I think that's all of the announcements. Yes, I'm going to ask Zach if he can come up and we'll light our chalice light. So today, may the flame we light remind us that every one of us can bring the light of love to the world. May this clear flame be a symbol that every heart can burn bright with joy, peace, and harmony. May the wisdom of ages speak to us through this flame and stay in us. Every one of us can be a blessing to this world. And, thank you. I'm going to invite Claire and Bradley up, and we have a different thing we want to do with you for the centering music. I think we could all use some deep breaths, some good calming music. So it's in two parts, and the words will be up here. We're going to sing each part twice through, and then we're going to combine the two to make it a little difficult. But it's beautiful if we can get all of our voices together. So you guys sing whatever makes you feel comfortable, okay?
Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Part two.
Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Holy and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
One more time.
Loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Thank you. We have some opening words, and I'll need your help with this one. So if you'll read the writing in the bold. If there is to be peace in the world, if there is to be peace in the nations, if there is to be peace in the cities, if there is to be peace between neighbors, if there is to be peace in the home, may this be a place where we foster peace of the heart, and may it grow to bear the fruit of peace at every level and in every place. Amen. And now, if you're willing and able to stand and sing, we're going to sing our opening song. It's in the gray hymnal. Oh, yeah, let's do the covenant first, and then we'll do that. But you can stand. Yes, please stand. And we'll say this together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Yes. And now we'll sing number 318 in the old hymnal here. We would be one. may be seated. This is a time of our service where we can come together as a family and share things, joys, sorrows, anything that's laid heavy on our hearts. And I know that it's a lot, it may be a lot this week for some of us, so we'll light a first candle for everything that's not only going on in our country, but across the world, just as kind of an overall massive candle, right? And then also I do want to light one for Ed and Laura. If you don't know them, they're kind of our power couple here at this church, and they do a little bit of everything. Ed had a doctor's appointment, and they wanted to go ahead and get him in, so he did have a triple bypass surgery on Friday. It went really well. But it's not for the weak of heart. So they could. Thank you. I know. Now, is that okay? Okay. In my defense, I'm not that clever, and I didn't do it on purpose. But anywho, they're doing fine. He's doing fine. He's recovering. So, but obviously, let's send him our thoughts and prayers and positive vibes. It's a tough time for the both of them. So, I'll light 2 candles, one for everything going on and one for them. And then yes, if you want to line up on either side, just share your name and just briefly tell us what you would like to share with your community. Can we sing the children out? Will you all help us? The words are up here. Mike, play us the ditty.
Well, are we doing Go Now in Joy for the second one? I thought we updated it. Yeah, Go Now in Peace, then Go Now in Joy. Thank you, Paula. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go now in peace, go now in joy. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere you may go.
Thank you. Okay, this is the fun part. This is where we ask for something from you. We are a lay-led service, as I said, and we're not affiliated with, a bigger organization. So we run solely on what we as a community can give. So we want and will take anything that you're willing and able to give. But at this time, if you have treasure that you would like to give us, we will have some ushers come around and pass a basket around for you to contribute to that. You can also text or send in a check, whatever you prefer. But thank you so much.
I'm going to say a quick word about the song Mary Beth and I are about to sing. This is a song, you can see back here. It's a song written by Sarah Bareilles in the wake of 2016 and all the political upheaval that year brought. And it draws on the story from Greek mythology of Orpheus, who's a poet who journeyed all the way into the depths of Hades for the sake of love.
There it is. Did y'all hear any of that? Yes. Okay. This song is about Orpheus. It's called Orpheus. I just wanted to give a word because I didn't know who Orpheus was. It draws on that story. Orpheus went all the way into the depths of Hades for the sake of love, but when his moment of truth came, he turned back rather than pressing forward, which makes the story a tragedy, but it's a tragedy that we can learn from. And so the song is an invitation to continually turn toward love, which is one that I know that I have needed this week. So this is Orpheus.
Come by the fire, lay down your head. My love, I see you're growing tired, so set the bad day by the bed and rest a while. Your eyes can close. You don't have to do a thing but listen to me sing. I know you miss the world, the one you knew, the one where everything made sense because you didn't know the truth. That's how it works. Till the bottom drops out and you learn we're all just hunters seeking solid ground. Don't stop trying to find me here amidst the chaos. Though I know it's blinding, there's a way out. Say out loud, we will not give up on love now. No fear, don't you turn like Orpheus, just stay here. Hold me in the dark, and when the day appears, we will say we did not give up on love today. I'll show you good, restore your faith. I'll try and somehow make a meaning of the poison in this place. Convince you love, don't breathe it in. You were written in the stars that we did not give up on love today.
Thank you. It's my duty and privilege to introduce our presenter today. Zach is a board-certified chaplain at Ascension Sacred Heart and a writer whose work was published in Braided Way and Flash Fiction magazine, explores the intersection of storytelling and spirituality. His background includes several years of ministry and spiritual care, focused on guiding individuals through life's challenges and transitions. We're privileged to have Zach Helton, so please help me welcome him.
Thank you. Good morning. In 1954, William Golding published Lord of the Flies, which you probably read in middle school. But on the off chance you didn't, it follows a group of children who crash on a desert island. And alone, they try to set up order and leadership and government to survive. But over the course of the story, that fragile order crumbles into chaos. Violence and anarchy drag them down like gravity. It's unavoidable, the book seems to say. We might try to pretend otherwise, but take a good look, because this is what humanity is. Most of us know Lord of the Flies, but did you also know that in 1965, Golding's nightmare scenario actually happened? 6 boys between 13 and 16 decided to run away from their boarding school in Tonga. Their plan was to borrow a fishing boat and then go on an adventure to Fiji and then head back, no harm done. And their plan was going great until shortly after setting sail, a storm caught them. And it destroyed their sails and their rudder, and it sent them drifting for 8 days until they crashed on this desert island. They were there for 15 months. Over a year later, a fisherman found them, and as the fisherman approached the island, this is what he saw. It wasn't a Lord of the Flies scenario, but it was 6 boys in perfect health and excellent spirits. There was no carnage, there was no bloodshed. Instead, they had established this routine of dividing up chores and collecting rainwater and tending a shared garden. They set up exercise routines. They made instruments so they could play music together. Anytime there was a conflict, they had this established routine of separating to opposite ends of the island until they could calm down, and then they'd come back together and work it out. At one point, one boy had even broken his leg, and the others had rallied around him and nursed him back to health. It wasn't Lord of the Flies at all. It was Eden. So let me ask you this. Which of these stories is the way things really are, and which is the anomaly? I know which one I'm tempted to believe, especially after a week like this, a week that has left me angry, and then sad, and then scared. It's no wonder so many of us would be so quick to call Lord of the Flies realistic, while writing off this other story, the story of these boys on this island called Atta, as a fluke. In reality, though, what if it's not a fluke? What if, despite all evidence to the contrary, we're not living in a Lord of the Flies world? What if Atta is actually the way things are? If people are inherently good and empathetic, and Lord of the Flies is the fluke? What if this week is the fluke? What if we are in a truer and more beautiful story than we will often let ourselves believe? I know how that sounds. Bear with me, because I promise I am not one for empty idealism. I want to be realistic, Part of a healthy spirituality, though, is learning to check the small stories that we think we're living in against reality, to root ourselves in a story that's bigger than we are. We use different tools to do this. We use prayer and meditation and community and sacred texts and science. And one of the texts that I have held sacred for a while is a book by Rutger Bregman. He's a Dutch historian and researcher. And it's called Humankind, A Hopeful History. And in this book, Bregman does these huge sweeps through evolutionary and social history to look at this question and try to sort out a realistic answer. Which story is true? Are we living in a Lord of the Flies world or the world of the boys in Atta? Putting aside our reactions, which are often skewed towards negativity and confirmation bias, what does it really mean to be realistic in a moment like this? This is a question that I have come back to in moments that I'm tempted to jump off of the edge into rage or despair or cynicism. Bregman's book has become this touchstone for me. So this morning, I'd like to explore it with you for just a little while. I'd like to look at a story that may point us towards the existential resilience that we need for this season, to really look it in the eye, to feel our feelings, and then to do something about it. So let's begin with Bregman's first claim, as unlikely as it sounds, that people are good. In 2007, this group of scientists wanted to study the differences in innate intelligence between humans and chimpanzees. They wanted to try to figure out what humanity's evolutionary advantage really was. So they devised a series of simple problems and presented them to a group of toddlers and a group of chimps. Surprisingly, they found that at first, the chimps and humans did about the same. Humans didn't pull ahead. More surprisingly, though, they found that when they made the tests harder, the chimps pulled ahead pretty quickly. Innate intelligence, it seems, is not our evolutionary advantage like we thought it was. But then as they kept going, they found something even more interesting. The chimpanzees were different from humans, and that they tended to try to work out each puzzle on their own, even when several were working at the same time. The toddlers, however, they got involved with each other. They helped. They learned. When one of them figured it out, they all learned from it and progressed together. And soon, with this skill, their scores blew the chimpanzees out of the water. It wasn't even close. Humans, unflatteringly, are about on par with chimps when it comes to innate intelligence. When it comes to working together, though, Bregman calls us ultra-social learning machines. In other words, humans aren't the apex species on this planet because of our intelligence. Neanderthals had bigger cranial cavities than we do. We're not on top because we're the strongest either. Neanderthals had us beat there too. Where we succeeded is in our capacity for connection. Did you know that humans are the only species that can blush? It's also weird in that we have an unusual amount of whites in our eyes, so we can always tell where each other are looking. We're also the only species to have embarrassingly versatile eyebrows. We wear our feelings on our face. We have no shells, we have no claws, we have no fangs. We're not the strongest, we're not the most aggressive, and we're not even the smartest. If the goal is survival of the least vulnerable and most aggressive, then we are embarrassingly under-equipped. Our real evolutionary superpower, it turns out, is that we are evolved for connection, for empathy, and for vulnerability. These lead us to learn from and help one another. We may think we're in this Lord of the Flies, dog-eat-dog kind of world, but if we look at what we're actually good at, we get a totally different picture. And you know something else that shocked me? Because we're evolved for empathy and connection, it's actually remarkably difficult to get humans to hurt each other. In World War II, S.L.A. Marshall conducted this study on American troops, trying to learn how to make them more effective killing machines. And what he found was that of the 16 million Americans to fight in World War II, the number of soldiers to actually ever fire their gun was between 15 and 25%. Most casualties came from mortars, from attacking from a distance, where we didn't actually have to see what we were doing. And then, when we are coerced into killing, the result is often a struggle with what's called perpetuation-induced traumatic stress. Humans have evolved for cooperation. We have evolved for kindness. It's what our bodies want to do. So, this brings up the next obvious question. If that's true, why are we so evil towards each other so much of the time? The answer, according to Bregman, goes back about 12,000 years. Bregman writes that millennia ago, when humans were nomads, we used this evolutionary superpower to survive and to innovate and to grow. We formed groups that were equitable. There was no real hierarchical leadership, and members were free to come and go across groups as they wanted. In modern nomadic groups, like the Kung people in the Kalahari Desert, we see that there is little tolerance for violent, ambitious, or egomaniacal members. Their behavior is always checked before it can get out of hand. We also see this in the bonobos, our closest genetic relatives, closer even than chimpanzees. Sure, every now and then when the group needs to address a large task or a challenge, a leader will step up, but afterwards they are quick to step down or risk being pulled down. About 12,000 years ago, though, something shifted. Humanity made this move from nomadic hunter-gatherers to settled farmers. And Bregman writes that the progression goes something like this. An agrarian lifestyle requires you to stay put, which means owning property. And where there's private property, there's a need to organize labor and to defend that property. And when you have a structure in need of organization and defense, you need leaders. And where you have leaders with power, there you have people who want to protect that power, often by force. And so they design systems to do just that. It's like if you give a mouse a cookie of violence. Long story short, whereas before it was easy to keep an egomaniacal or violent behavior in check, now it's not so simple. We've been conscripted into the service of something else, usually in the name of order or security. And that shift laid the groundwork for inequality and entrenched power structures. And Bregman calls this the curse of civilization. Now, I know that might not sound like it connects to this question of why good people do terrible things. But here's where it gets more interesting. When you look at the psychological profile of someone who has done terrible things, of suicide bombers or terrorists, for instance, you find that their profiles are shockingly ordinary. In interviews with extremists, even with Nazis after the Second World War, researchers found that ideology is usually not even close to the main driving force behind their behavior. Ironically, it's empathy. We do things because it's what other people in our tribe are doing. We want to connect and we want to work together. It's what we're hardwired to do. And the more fear or the more intense the need for connection, the more extreme we're willing to be to meet that need. Researchers found that ideology like religion or nationalism is usually just a justification. We're backfilling a reason for something that we were going to do anyway. Bregman tells one story about a terrorist captured with a copy of the Quran for Dummies in his pocket because he knew very little about the radical Islamic ideology he was supposed to be fighting for. I think we see the same thing with Christian nationalism. So I say that to get to this. While the psych profiles of people who do terrible things are surprisingly normal, the profiles for people in leadership, the kind of people who are prone to rise to positions of power are not. This minority group, by contrast, ranks disproportionately high for psychopathic tendencies, such as a severely diminished capacity for empathy, for narcissism, for a total lack of shame when it comes to just lying or manipulating, willingness to say whatever they have to secure power. Does any of this sound familiar? So back to this question of why, if we're so good, do we do so many evil things towards one another so much of the time? And the answer is, we usually don't. Most of the time, we're pretty decent towards one another, even though negativity and confirmation bias keep us in the story that we're not. When we are terrible towards one another, though, when we build concentration camps, when we hold lynchings, or when we take up arms, it's because our natural capacity for empathy has been tampered with. It has been manipulated and narrowed by a small group of people who are highly skilled at using myths and half-truths to narrow our empathy to include an us and exclude a them. And we do it for the sole reason that they tell us to, and our friends are doing it. In the early 60s, Stanley Milgram at Yale did the study where he put one participant in charge of an electroshock machine and another connected to the machine. And every time the one connected got a question wrong, the one operating would administer a shock. An authority in a lab coat would stand behind the one operating the machine, instructing them to increase the voltage each time. They said it was to measure the effect of negative reinforcement on learning. But in reality, the one receiving the shocks was an actor, and so was the guy in the lab coat. The machine wasn't real. There were no shocks. The real experiment was just to see how much pain a normal person would inflict just because an authority told them to. And the answer was a lot. 65% of the participants went all the way up to 450 volts. Even when a warning label on the machine said, not to. And even when the participant is screaming or pretending to scream in pain. All because the man in the coat told them to. Authority can mess with our hardwired disposition towards empathy. That statistic I gave earlier about only 15 to 25% of soldiers in World War II actually firing a gun, in most cases, those 25% only actually fired their weapon because an authority was standing over their shoulder giving them a direct order. We are naturally empathetic and kind. We're evolved for cooperation and for vulnerability. But those same features that make us great, they can be hijacked and perverted by a select few, all for the sake of gaining and protecting power. So, that leads us to the question. If we are good people, being manipulated into acts of evil, what are we supposed to do about it? Especially in a situation like this where it looks like the manipulators hold all the cards. And here's what Bregman proposes. If manipulation of those evolutionary instincts got us into this mess, then recovery of those same instincts can get us out. Near the end of his book, Bregman tells this famous story of December 1914. On Christmas in 1914, in the trenches of the Western Front, British and German troops are facing off in the bitter cold. Soldiers are sleeping in the mud after a day of fighting, and then out of nowhere, one of the soldiers starts singing Silent Night because it's Christmas. Their voice echoed into the enemy's trenches, and soon another voice joined, and then another, and then everyone on both sides were singing Silent Night. Soldiers started shouting Christmas greetings to one another, going back and forth until one person, bravely, climbed out of the trench with a white flag, signaling a temporary ceasefire. And soon all of the soldiers are singing carols and exchanging presents and playing soccer. They had been fighting enemies, less than humans, not like us. But the thing is, enemies don't sing Christmas carols. We sing Christmas carols. With only a song, though, whatever story their leaders had put into their head about us and them, whatever manipulation they'd used to restrict their empathy to a small tribe of people, short-circuited. And that Christmas ceasefire lasted 2 days before the troops were called back to their respective trenches. But even then, they had a hard time continuing the fight, because how do you shoot at someone who just gave you a Christmas present? When leadership found out, they were enraged. Both sides took steps to prevent anything like that from ever happening again, fearing that shows of solidarity like that could undermine the war efforts, which, of course, they could. We may think that violence and selfishness are like gravity pulling us down, but the real gravity is cooperation, and it's pulling us back to the center of who we really are. I first saw that story on an episode of Doctor Who, and I assumed it was just made up for the show because it was crazy. But it wasn't. It was real. And people call the story a fluke, a Christmas miracle. But do you know what's crazy? The exact same fluke also happened during the Spanish Civil War, and the Boer Wars, and the American Civil War, the Crimean War, and the Napoleonic Wars. In fact, hearing the story in 2006, the defense minister of Colombia, who had been fighting guerrilla terrorists in his country for 50 years, thought that he might risk changing tactics. And instead of relying on violence or going after the enemy's ideology, which of course it's rarely actually about, he coordinated a campaign to put up a series of 75-foot Christmas trees all around the jungle with colored lights and messages on them like, if Christmas can come to the jungle, you can come home. Anything is possible. And putting up Christmas trees isn't a thing that enemies do. It's a thing that we do. And within a single month, 331 insurgents had laid down their arms and gone home. And that campaign kept going in new and innovative ways. So, if we are good people, being manipulated into acts of evil, then what are we supposed to do about it? We are supposed to trust our evolutionary superpowers. We assert our humanity and draw out the humanity of our so-called enemies. We get creative to interrupt the us and them stories that leaders train us to believe, widening the empathy that they try to narrow. Enemies don't sing carols. They don't put up trees. They don't ask how my day is going. And they don't speak kindly of me. Those are things we do, not them. I think this is what the Buddha meant when he said that hatred doesn't cease by hatred, only by love. And what Jesus meant when he said, don't strike back, but turn the other cheek. They meant disrupt the stories they're trying to sell you, and to give a chance for that empathy to pull us back to who we are, like gravity. Now, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying everything's going to be okay. We have done evil things in the past, and we will likely do them again. None of this means that this isn't a scary time or that the danger is not real. But what I am saying is we aren't helpless. I'm saying we don't live in a world that gravitates towards evil. We live in a world that gravitates towards love. And once we know the true nature of the story that we're living in, then we have the agency to fight back effectively. And that's it. I don't know about you, but after this week, that's the story that I needed to remember the world I'm really living in. To remember that it's okay not to give up on love. To remember that humans are hardwired for empathy and cooperation. It's okay to be afraid, and it's okay to be angry. And when that fear and anger threaten to bleed into despair or cynicism, this is the story I have to ground myself in. A story in which I remember that the most realistic way forward has always been and continues to be love. Amen.
Thank you, Zach. Let's sing another song together. If you're willing and able, stand with us and turn to page 168. One more step. This has 4 verses, and we're going to sing them all 4, and then the last verse one more time, just our voices. And let's really embrace the meaning of this song. Come on up. And then afterwards, if you need a real good hug, our hug ambassador, Brett, will be wandering around. I know I need them often, and they really help. So. Zach, if you'll come up and deliver our closing words.
Go in peace, live simply, gently, and at home with yourselves. Act justly, speak justly, and remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power in the days of powerlessness. Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with yourselves, and as you go, go with the dream of peace alive in your heart. Amen.
Don't forget about Sunday Sweets.